Hello, my name is Jerry Rudman. I'm the Executive Director of Psi Beta, and I am pleased to share some information that I've been accumulating about careers in psychology for psychology majors. This is a general overview of what we'll be covering, not quite in this sequence, but close to it. One thing will be how many students major in psychology, where do they go after they get the BA, what kind of jobs do they get? Another area is what are some of the skills that employers expect to see and want to see in all college graduates and that psychology majors possess, and then some tips to help you become more job ready and some of the resources that you can use. First, let's look at this graph. This is from the Center for Workforce Studies at the American Psychological Association. It's current up to 2019, and you can see that the number of BA degrees is sort of leveled off, but there's a lot of them being awarded each year. So in 2019, there were almost 124,000 people awarded the BA degree in psychology. So what happened to those students? How many went to grad school? And how many went into the workplace? And if they went to grad school, whatever that means, what did they do there? What kind of degree did they seek? So this first part of this presentation is dedicated to students who want to know about the BA in psychology and getting a career in that area. So let's look at those students. This is BA outcomes in 2017 and what happened to them. Well, 53% of them went directly into the workforce. Over half of all those students did not go to grad school. They went into the workforce. And of those who did go to grad school, 12% went into a master's program and 4% the doctorate degree. But another 25% went into a non-psychology master's program, for perhaps pharmaceutical science or some other field not directly related to psychology, and some went into doctorate or professional degree level, 6%. So in general, you can say in summary here, 53% who got the BA in psych went to a career path, went into the job market, and another 16% went into graduate school in psych. The others went somewhere else, the other 31%. Here are some examples of psychology-related careers. This is by far not exhaustive, but these are kinds of jobs that people get that relate closely to psychology. Human factors, school psychologist, high school counselor, and so on. I think research is interesting because although a lot of people don't know this, there are institutional research offices at all community colleges and universities. And by and large, the people who work in those have degrees in psych. Then there are people who do academic research, of course, in psych, just like at any academic department at a university. And there are people who work in public and private organizations. So I'll give you more information later on how to find out more about these particular jobs, but I just wanted to point out that the degree requirements for most of these degrees, almost all of them, require something beyond the bachelor's degree. Like a clinical psychologist is a PhD. You can become a marriage and family therapist with a master's degree, and there may be some other state requirements, and so on and so forth. The only entry-level ones that I have on this table, of course, is the BA can get you a job at a high school where you can also teach a couple of psychology courses, or it could be an entry-level position at an institutional research office at a community college or university. Can you get a job with a BA in psychology? Well, this recent publication came out from IMSI, which is a labor market analytics organization, and they made this statement, and I'll just read this. to you. An undergraduate psychology major prepares students for as many career outcomes. In 2019, individuals with the psychology bachelor's degree worked in 88 different occupational categories. The most common ones were management, 31%, professional services, 19%, sales, 17%, and occupations leading to a management position. And there's business and financial. So it's interesting to know that people are now starting to track what happens to those who get the BA in psychology and go into the workplace. Drew Appleby in his research has published, done a lot of research on this, and has published 5 broad occupational fields that the BA degree students enter. BA in Psych: business, healthcare, human resources, social service, or teaching. This is an interesting interactive graph that you can check out on your own. We won't do that today, but you can actually go, and this is at the U.S. Census Bureau, and on this left side are college majors that you can put your cursor over, and when you do that, the occupational groups that those majors feed into are shown over on the right side. So this is majors over here and occupational groups over here. And when you hover over psychology, you can see that quite a bit of variation occurs. Anything from agriculture to service, education, legal, and so on. The wider this gray band here, the larger number of people who went into that field. So again, the BA in psychology and social services, arts and entertainment, and so on. That's kind of something you can visit later. I will give you a link to this, and you'll be able to go there and take a look at that. It's quite interesting. A word about graduate school. What in the world is it? I didn't know until I was probably in a master's program, but basically the idea is this. Everyone starts out and they get their bachelor's degree, and then after the graduate degree, any further program you go into is called graduate school, because you're a graduate. You have the BA and you're working towards another degree. The 2 most common degrees are the master's degree, which takes 2 to 3 years, or the PhD. There are PsyDs and other doctorates, but in general they take 5 or 6 years. Finding the right program and then getting into that program is a real challenge. I'll give you some resources for that in a moment. But the most common things, that requirements, are that you take what's called the Graduate Record Exam. It's a little like the SAT on steroids. There's a verbal and a computational or mathematics portion of it, and then some graduate schools require you to take the psychology area exam as well, but not all of them require that. And then you need letters of recommendation, typically 3, and these are things you need to cultivate relationships with professors after you transfer. Generally speaking, people that you take classes from that you really like, or think that they would write a supportive letter of recommendation, you need to get to know those people. Now, I write letters of recommendation even though I teach at a community college. I might write 10 or so letters of recommendation for students every year to help them get into scholarships or into graduate school or whatever. But generally, you want most, if not all, of your letters to come from people who are working at a university where you did your upper division work. So keep that in mind, letters of recommendation. And then there are experiences that may help qualify you as well for getting into graduate school. Experiences that we will be talking about in a moment. But you need to do more than just attend your classes and pass them. You need to take advantage of experiential learning. More to come on that. So where do psychologists work? Now here's a survey of psychology doctorate students in a publication by the APA called Careers in Psychology. You can take a look at this PowerPoint later. It'll be posted on the website of Psi Beta, but you can see that not everybody is a university professor. That's about 25%, but there are different places like independent or private practice, working in the schools, working in the medical sector, and the health sector are also common for people with a doctorate degree. What relationship does the job you get eventually, whether you go to graduate school or not, how closely related is it to psychology? Now, this survey put out by the APA of different levels of psychology graduates found that the higher the degree the person had in psychology, the more they thought that their job related to psychology and made use of psychological concepts. Notice over here that the BA was only 27%. That relates closely to psychology. However, I think there's a good possibility that this is understated because we who teach psychology haven't done the best job in the world of pointing out how relevant psychology is to almost any job setting.
My name's Graham Everett. I serve as a deputy chief for Los Angeles Fire Department, and my current rank or my current position is the chief of staff. I obtained my Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Redlands in 1988 is when I graduated. During my time in school, I also attended Irvine Valley College, so I'm a former alumni there. But I found the field of psychology to be very broad-based, and I thought that it would be something that I would be able to use in any field that I chose. And ultimately, I ended up with the fire department, and much of the skill sets I learned in my course work really applies to my everyday work here as a firefighter. And early in my career, and even now that I have 30 years with the department, it serves me well every day. When I first started with the department, I was a frontline firefighter. I was a paramedic. The skills I learned in listening skills and kind of empathy for patients and understanding what teams are all about and how to work well within a team were some key components. Also, for firefighters, critical thinking becomes very, very important. We get called out to solve problems every day, and so when people are having the worst day that they can think of, we show up and we try to fix it. So we have to be very creative in doing that, but we also have to be we have to build those skill sets around some critical thinking skills, and I learned a lot of that in school, along with our communication skills, both oral and written. We have lots of reports that we do, and really working with the public and having an understanding ear for what the needs of the communities are. And we're also very unique. We live with each other for 24 hours at a time in the fire station. So getting an understanding of your coworkers in that environment is very, very different than any office environment. So my understanding of psychology and the work that I did in school really paid off in the long run.
I think it was interesting to hear from Graham Everett, somebody who is quite a long ways into his career, and he can reflect back on, was his BA in psychology relevant or not? And he feels that it certainly was. The current slide shows job satisfaction research between those who hold a degree in psychology and in all the other fields. And as you can see, there's a slight increase in job satisfaction as you go from bachelor's to master's to doctorate level, but the level of job satisfaction remains pretty high among psychology BA students compared to other fields. Career readiness is something for you to think about. It's the foundation from which to demonstrate requisite core competencies that broadly prepare the college-educated for success in the workplace and lifetime career management. So that's what we hope in Psi Beta that all of you will acquire. And just a sidestep here, a little bit about salary research information that has been done on early careers in psychology. This is from the American Psych Association. 65 to 93K is starting salaries. And now this is combining master's, PhDs, and bachelor's degrees. Late careers, many of these occupational areas are receiving six-figure incomes. So you can make money as a psychology person working in psychology. I'm going to talk now about universal job skills. About 10 years ago, various newspapers and other media outlets were talking about the skills gap, that employers are not finding that today's graduates are coming out with the skills that they expected them to have. Well, the gap has closed a little bit since those early days, 10 years ago, but there's still room to be filled for those gaps. So I want to talk about what are the skills that employers desire in new employees, and can psychology help students acquire them? And generally, what are the so-called soft skills or essential human skills that people need for job success regardless of their job area? So one place here is, this was based upon a task force of the American Psych Association. I had the honor of serving on that task force, and we analyzed all kinds of labor market information, job announcements, and all kinds of things in which the psychology bachelor's degree was listed as one of the qualifying things for people that they were looking to hire. And it turned out that there were 17 different skills that psychology students can attain, and they fall under 5 different domains. This can be downloaded from the American Psych Association and from the Psi Beta Career Resource website, and you can take a look at that so it's a little more readable than it is in this form right here. So what do employers expect? Well, one reflection on this is by this company called RealityWorks. They're actually in the process now of marketing training manuals and finding people to give talks in industry, and these are the top 10 skills they're going in and training existing employees who already are in the workplace, and these are the second set. Notice how many of these, if not just about every one of them, have something to do with psychology and things that psychology students are expected to learn as undergraduates. So what can you do from where you are right now? First of all, you can monitor your progress. Keep track of your human skills in psychology, knowledge, and competencies that you're developing. You can self-assess those on a thing called a PDEC, which I'll show you a little more on that in a second, or the ESSE, which is an online instrument. You can start what's called a curriculum vitae and keep it up to date by updating it periodically. And you could add skills to your job application letters and answers to interview questions. You can build skills by taking skill building courses and workshops, both within and outside of your major. You can gain experiences and high impact co-curricular learning opportunities, clubs, honor societies, cooperative work experience, service learning, study abroad, undergraduate research. We have many students at our college and at many community colleges who transfer into their upper division coursework as juniors and know that it's important for them to try to get into a college research lab within the psychology department at the university. And when students do that, they get to know the professors and the research area, and they are building up their curriculum vitae and resume. It's a great thing to do and a great learning experience. Next, you can network. There are many professional organizations that relate to your career interest. You just need to find them. If, for example, you're interested in human factors in industrial psychology as a possible job area, there are human factors organizations you can join as a student member. Same thing goes, by the way, for the APA and the APS and other organizations in psychology. They allow student members, they have their own journals, they have their own conferences that you can attend. So networking is an important thing to think about. And then using career resources. The College Career Center is probably one of the most underused resources on many campuses. But you can go in there and find things that will help you further understand your job interest and what kind of courses you need to take and what you need to do to prepare to be an applicant for a job that you would look at as something you'd like to do. There's the ONET resources and the Center for Work Studies. More on that in a second. So first of all, you can monitor your skill building and experience acquisition progress. One thing we have is the Professional Development Experiences Questionnaire. It's a checklist. It has 60 questions. It's basically, there's no right or wrong answers. You just basically respond. What are the things that you have done or you know that you can do, and you give yourself a point, and then you add them all up. So that instrument can be downloaded from the SciBeta website, and then you can use that periodically to monitor your progress. The Employable Skills Efficacy Survey is a questionnaire that you can take online for free, and it gives you also feedback on, are you picking up skills that are needed to be employable after you graduate. You see, the thing is, you can sit in your psych classes and pass them, but if you're not doing things like picking up experiences and doing volunteer work or some things like that that can increase your employability, you're going to have a harder time finding a job than those people who have done all those things. So the IMSI, this is an interesting thing I thought I would throw in there. The IMSI is a labor market analytics organization that studies all kinds of information that they get from the job market. And this is a chart that they put out, the top 20 skills in professional profiles of psychology bachelor's degree holders. Employers say customer service skills. Well, that makes sense. Leadership. But look at some of these others. Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint. These may be things that you need to take on your own that you don't necessarily get in your psychology coursework. I took, for example, in my doctorate program, I took Excel at a local community college from a business department, and it was probably one of the most useful courses I've ever taken, both for my studies and for my career afterward. So here are some career-related experiential activities or opportunities. Volunteer work. At our college we have a thing called cooperative work experience. It may be called something different at yours, but there's probably a place where you can do service learning and get credit for it at the same time, and you can do volunteer work at a place that has people doing the kind of work you hope to do someday, to see if that's really your thing. Study abroad can be a very valuable experience that will bolster your CV and resume. Temporary jobs, both on or off campus, can be valuable. Campus clubs and honor societies. Joining a professional organization, getting involved in the honors program, and the list goes on. Christian Trusk is a student of mine who's in a cooperative work experience project this semester, and he has an interest in working with people with addiction. So he found a place that would allow him to volunteer called the Northbound Treatment Center at a nearby city. And they said that he could work there. And this place has 87 clients at any one time going through different phases of detox. And most of the residents stay about 10 days, some stay longer, and then they come in and they get services, outpatient services. So Kristen, my student, worked with his supervisor and with me to come up with 3 learning objectives of what he would get out of his volunteer experience. And he's getting 1 college unit of credit for 60 hours of time. And this is what he does there. Most of the time he's interviewing people and recording their life stories. He does spend time in meetings with the therapists, and he does shadow client groups and even helps facilitate some of the groups. What he said about it is, he said there's a big difference between psychology classes and the actual experience of working with mental health clients. No book or class can replace that experience. Also, I've learned about myself and that psychology is a career area I want to pursue. When asked, do you think other students should take cooperative work experience at our college? Absolutely. I can't advocate enough for this. It's the best thing I could have done for my education and future. It's taught me more than anything I've had in a class, and it was fun. So taking advantage of career resources, that's what I've been kind of emphasizing in the last couple of slides here. This was a survey by the American Association of Colleges and Universities, just recently published. They asked employers, would you be more likely to consider hiring a college graduate with any of the following experiences? Look what's at the top. Completion of an internship or apprenticeship, 49% more likely to hire, or at least consider hiring. Work study. So these are all experiential things that employers like to see in a candidate. Now, if you're going to consider graduate school, getting that master's degree or PhD, one of the books that American Psych Association's been putting out every year, the last issue was 2019, and it's out of print. I just went to their website, couldn't find it. But you might be able to find a copy, a used copy online, like at Amazon or someplace like that. This book has every single graduate program in psychology in America. It's about the size of a phone book, a thick phone book, and you can look up a particular college and find out what do the professors there research, what is the acceptance rate into their program, out of 100 people who apply, what percentage get in? In other words, how competitive is the program? What do you need to score on the GRE? So on and so forth. Are there any kind of stipends given to students who are accepted, like housing stipends or tuition? I think that they're phasing this out because there's now an online service that does the same thing, and it's probably easier to use. It's $20 for 3 months access, and you can find your psychology graduate program and then put in filters. So you could say, for example, I would like to get a look at PhD programs in developmental psych, but only in Northern California, and it'll just pull up those, and then you can do a deep dive into those particular universities. And then there's the step-by-step plan for gaining admission into graduate school. It's still there at APA for $20. You might want to think about buying that. Dr. Carrie Tucker has her PhD in social psychology from UC Riverside, And she started out with a bachelor's degree in psychology. It had kind of a convoluted pathway because she didn't have the guidance that we try to provide through Psi Beta. And so she did make it through. She persevered, showed lots of grit, and got that PhD. And she now has given a talk called Considering and Getting into Graduate School, Information and Tips I Wish I Had as an Early Undergraduate Student. This is a really good resource that I highly recommend, and we have now loaded this onto the Psi Beta web page under Career Resources, and you can watch it. It's about an hour long. Watching this may save you all kinds of frustration and time if you go to grad school. Regardless of that, grad school or not, if you want to know more about a curriculum vitae, how it is, how to make it, how to properly create it, and what not to put on it, you want to watch Barry Rudman's curriculum vitae video that she made. Both she and Carrie made their presentations at they were filmed at our television studio at Irvine Valley College about 6 years ago. And they're both very current talks. One more resource is called the Online Career Exploration Resource for Psych Majors. This is by a fellow named Drew Appleby, who had been a professor full-time at Purdue University in Indiana. Now he's emeritus, but he's still producing career-related resources that are amazing. So in this, it's actually a Word document that's interactive. He's taken 300 different careers and boiled them down into 15 categories. So you can click on an area that really interests you, and it'll pull up additional links. And if they're in blue, it means that these are jobs that are available for people with a bachelor's degree. If it's in green, it means you probably will need a master's degree or higher. And if there's a dot there, it means it's got a bright outlook, according to this resource called ONET. So let's just say that I clicked on human resources. This is what comes up. These are all human resource type job titles, and underneath them more links. So let's say that I want to do training and development. So I click on this link right here, and here's what pulls up. ONET, which is an online job resource that's quite valuable and accurate, and a couple of other things. And then there's videos. So I click on one of the videos. It's a YouTube video of Rob Jindal, who's a learning and development manager, and he talks about his job and how he got it and what it's like. So it's a very valuable tool. The ONET part that Drew Appleby puts on his paper with all these links, you see here it goes to training development manager. That's what he had linked in there. It gives all the tasks, the types of technology skills you need for that job, the knowledge, all of these things, even down to wage and employment trends for that job category by state and by zip code. So it's an amazing resource for people who want to explore different career options. I'll close out now by just saying this is what we have on the Psi Beta website under Career Resources. We have a couple of videos. We have some self-assessment tools. We have some other things that I have not mentioned, but it's a skills-based cover letter and how you can do a CV that's skills-based. And a booklet from the Careers in Psych by American Psych Association, and a direct link to the online career exploration tool. So I hope that you found this to be helpful. We do intend to keep building on this starting point of right now and adding career resources to the Psi Beta website. Closing thoughts. One of the things that you'll need is probably, of all of the soft skills that are the most valuable, regardless of where you ever end up working, is self-regulation. It's one of psychology's gifts. Time management, sleep, diet, exercise management, having a growth mindset, and using evidence-based study strategies or teaching strategies if you're working in a school area or in a training area in industry. These are valuable. Many of them show up in the introductory psychology course. Think of these as your friends and tools that will help you become a more effective person, and you can help share with others to make them more effective. Second, take full control of your own self-development. If you don't have a plan for yourself, you will certainly become part of somebody else's plan. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this concept called a razor's edge. What I've noticed is many people, and this isn't something I invented, I've found this in motivational textbooks and things like that. It talks about the fact that the person who wins the race, wins the golf tournament, gets the job, is usually the person who's done a little more than the competitors. They prepared more. They've been preparing themselves all along to be successful. Now, when you put this in the context of the regular psychology course, or any course that you may be in school, you'll find that you're basically competing against those who will settle for mediocrity. For example, I can assign a paper, and the first question I'll get from several students is, how long does it have to be? Which communicates to me that they want to know, what is the minimum I have to do to meet this requirement? Not how can I make this an outstanding paper that I'll get a lot out of and will help society in some way. So it isn't that hard to, think of this as the razor's edge when you're working on projects or doing things, or even on the job now for a temporary job. What could you do to really stand out and do a superb job rather than just settling for mediocrity? So that's the concept of the razor's edge. I hope it's helpful, if it makes sense. Thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed putting all these resources together, and I hope that they'll be helpful to you as well.